The wandering star drifted through the Kepler nebula like a ghost from humanity's forgotten past. Its hull, once pristine white, had been scorched black by centuries of cosmic radiation and micrometeorite impacts. Solar panels hung at odd angles, half of them shattered beyond repair. The massive engine housings that had once propelled it between the stars were now cold and silent, their fusion cores long since depleted. To the Hegemony patrol that discovered it, the ancient vessel appeared to be nothing more than space junk, a relic from humanity's early primitive attempts at interstellar colonization before the species had been properly contained within their home system. Captain Vexstar of the Hegemony destroyer Iron Talon studied the derelict through his ship's optical sensors with barely concealed disgust. The Karathi officer's chitinous exoskeleton clicked rhythmically against his command chair as he processed the tactical data streaming across his displays. "How long has this piece of debris been floating out here?" he asked his sensor operator, Lieutenant Crickson. "Based on the radiation scoring and structural degradation, approximately 300 standard years, Captain," Crickson replied, her antenna twitching with nervous energy. "It appears to be a human generation ship from their pre-containment era." Vexstar's mandibles clicked in amusement. 3 centuries ago, before the Karathi Hegemony had established their rightful dominance over this sector, humanity had actually attempted to spread beyond their birthworld. The notion was almost quaint now, considering how thoroughly the species had been pacified and relegated to their solar reservation. "Any signs of life?" he inquired, though the question was merely academic. No human technology from that era could sustain life for 3 centuries in deep space. "Negative, sir. The ship appears completely dead. Minimal heat signatures, no electromagnetic emissions, no movement. It's a derelict." Vexstar was about to order his crew to resume their patrol when his communications officer, Subcommander Zaktul, interrupted with an urgent chirp. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from High Command. The Terran Resistance has apparently launched another of their pitiful uprisings. Command wants all patrol vessels to maintain heightened vigilance for human vessels operating outside their authorized zone." The captain's exoskeleton darkened with irritation. Despite 3 centuries of containment, humans continued their sporadic and ultimately futile attempts at rebellion. They never learned that resistance was pointless against hegemony technological superiority. "Very well," Vexstar decided. "We'll conduct a brief inspection of this derelict. If it's harboring resistance sympathizers, we'll deal with them appropriately. If not, we'll salvage anything useful and destroy the rest." The Iron Talon moved closer to the ancient human vessel, its scanning arrays probing every meter of the deteriorated hull. The ship was massive by human standards, nearly 2 kilometers long, but primitive by hegemony measures. Its design was clunky and inefficient, with none of the elegant curves that characterize proper Karathi engineering. "Docking bay located on the starboard side," reported the navigator. "It appears to be sealed, but our cutting tools should penetrate easily." 20 minutes later, a hegemony boarding party had forced their way into the Wandering Star's cavernous docking bay. Captain Vexstar led the assault team personally, his plasma rifle charged and ready for any surprises the derelict might contain. The interior of the ship was a maze of darkened corridors and chambers that had obviously been designed for human habitation. Empty living quarters, abandoned recreational areas, and dry hydroponic bays spoke of a vessel that had once carried thousands of colonists toward distant stars. "Proceed to the bridge," Vexstar ordered. "If there are any operational systems remaining, that's where we'll find them." The hegemony soldiers moved through the ship with practiced efficiency, their night vision equipment cutting through the absolute darkness that filled the ancient corridors. Emergency lighting strips that had once guided human crew members had long since failed, leaving only the soldiers' helmet lamps to pierce the gloom. They encountered no resistance as they made their way to the command section. The bridge, when they finally reached it, was as dead and lifeless as the rest of the ship. Dust-covered control panels sat silent and dark. The main view screen was cracked and powerless. "Nothing here, Captain," reported Sergeant Yixol. "This ship has been dead for centuries." Vextar was beginning to think this had been a waste of time when his helmet sensors detected something unusual. Deep within the ship's superstructure, buried beneath layers of insulation and armor plating, was a faint energy signature. "There's something active deeper in the ship," he announced. "Probably an automated distress beacon or emergency life support system. We'll investigate and then plant demolition charges to eliminate this navigation hazard." The energy signature led them down into the ship's engineering sections, through corridors that grew progressively more cramped and utilitarian. Finally, they reached a heavily armored door marked with human warning symbols and text that the hegemony soldiers' translation software identified as COREO PIOA TIO NSA UT URIZ ET EIA DEAER IAAA ELANLY. "Cut through it," Vextar ordered. The plasma cutter made quick work of the ancient human alloys. Beyond the door lay a chamber that made even the experienced hegemony soldiers pause in confusion. The room was filled with crystalline matrices and quantum processing units that looked far too advanced for 300-year-old human technology. "Captain," Lieutenant Crixon's voice crackled through the comm system from the Iron Talon. "I'm detecting massive power fluctuations throughout the derelict. Something is activating." Before Vextar could respond, the chamber around them began to hum with awakening energy. Holographic displays materialized in the air, showing star charts and tactical data that shifted too quickly for organic minds to process. The crystalline matrices pulsed with increasing brightness as systems that had been dormant for 3 centuries suddenly roared back to life. A human voice, calm and feminine, echoed through hidden speakers. "Hibernation cycle complete. Threat assessment. Hostile alien borders detected. Initiating Phoenix Protocol." Vextar realized with growing horror that they had made a catastrophic mistake. This wasn't an abandoned generation ship, it was a trap. A 300-year-old trap that humanity had set for whoever eventually conquered them. "Emergency extraction." He barked into his communicator. All units returned to the Iron Talon immediately. But it was too late. The wandering star was already moving, its hidden gravitational manipulation systems coming online with a subsonic rumble that shook the entire vessel. The ancient ship, which had appeared dead and drifting moments before, was now accelerating toward the hegemony destroyer with impossible speed. "Impossible," Vextar whispered. "Human technology from that era couldn't." 3 centuries is a long time to perfect an ambush, the ship's AI interrupted, somehow detecting his words. "Did you really think we would send colony ships into space without any way to protect them?" Through the chamber's newly activated viewports, Vextar could see his destroyer frantically trying to maneuver away from the approaching derelict. But the Iron Talon's engines were no match for gravitational technology that the hegemony had assumed was beyond human capabilities. The wandering star was never meant to reach its destination, the AI continued conversationally. It was designed to wait, to watch, to learn everything about whoever conquered humanity. And when the time was right, to strike back. The collision took less than 30 seconds. The massive human vessel, its hull reinforced with metamaterials that hadn't existed during the hegemony's conquest of Earth, sheared through the destroyer's armor like it was made of paper. The Iron Talon broke apart in a cascade of explosions that lit up the nebula for several light minutes in every direction. In the brief moments before his death, Captain Vextar finally understood the true nature of humanity's 3-century defeat. It hadn't been surrender, it had been preparation. Across the galaxy, dozens of other derelict human ships received the wandering star's final transmission. One by one, they began to awaken from their long sleep, their patient AIs cataloging 3 centuries of intelligence about hegemony, military capabilities, trade routes, and planetary defenses. The Terran resistance had never truly ended. It had simply been waiting for the right moment to remind the galaxy that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology, it was their capacity for revenge served cold. Very, very cold.